Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Constant Agitation, your weekly podcast about photography and, well, I guess mostly photography.
Sometimes other things.
Yeah. I'm your host, Jimmy. Today, sporting my what are they called? Hater blockers. Because I've had some interaction with some haters earlier today. So I'm going to let go of all that negativity. And, as always, I'm joined by the lovely Eva.
Hi guys.
How you doing?
I'm good. Slow week though. Feels like it's been longer than a week actually.
How's it?
It feels.
Yeah, maybe. It's been too hot.
It's been too hot and that kind of slows everything down, I feel.
Yeah, I have good news.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's good news yet, but potentially good news. That we might have solved the issue of my computer crashing
Why are you saying anything?
every stream. Because I'm so confident, so I'm not afraid to jinx it, right? And
All right.
I'm not ashamed. I'm gonna sound like a complete idiot when I'm not ashamed to admit that. I can be. Everybody should admit to themselves every once in a while that they're an idiot, and here I am doing it live for everybody to see. Is that I think that's what I think it is. I think that the problem is that my computer wasn't getting enough power because we're
the
doing
simplest of the solutions. You know when you call your IT department and it's like, my computer's not working. Well, did you try to turn it on and off again and see if it has power?
Yeah, basically so here's the thing. I have an extra monitor here on this side so I can see what you guys are seeing when we share the display. And this monitor is hooked up to an adapter that kind of like powers the computer as well.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently it wasn't giving it enough power. And last stream I tried to change all the settings and everything to save the computer, to save the stream. And after the stream crashed and I was very upset, I look and I have 9% battery. And I'm like, how is it possible? I've been plugged in the whole time. So I did some tests this time, make sure that I unplugged my charger as well. And hopefully, everything will go well.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta crack this one open. Sorry about the noise. Yeah.
You know that sound?
Cheers.
It reminds me of the Coca-Cola ads in Spain, which always had really hot guys, very, very in summer, sweaty, and they will crack open a Coca-Cola to relieve that heat.
Mm-hmm. Well, in other news,
we have new lights.
We do have new lights, and now, like, whenever I speak ill of HP5, you guys can send the police to get me. So yeah, we hope it looks better today. We got a new light panel. I mean, it was a really good price, but then as soon as I unboxed it, I know why. It's because it has like these
barn doors
that they don't stay in their place. They just, whenever you set them, they fall down. The top and bottom ones. Anyways, there's a piece of news that I wanted to talk about last week, but I forgot. By the way, this week we didn't get any questions. We did get one question. From I'm mixing so many things together. Right. Let's talk about the question first.
All
Tim,
right.
as always, one of the best friends of the channel.
Mm-hmm.
He also was on one of the episodes. If you missed that, if you're new.
Go check it out.
He asked a question about any potential winners in the contest. Well, what contest am I talking about? If you don't know, if you missed the previous episode when we talked about this, if you don't have Discord, maybe join Discord because we're doing a partnering up with Tim server. So Discord is like think of it as a chatting app where you can have small communities and they can have different topics they talk about. So there's a bunch of cool servers about photography. You can find the links for the ones that we're active in the description, but especially the one where I'm talking about film photography is not dead.
Not dead.
That one is hosted by our friend Tim, and they also host a photo contest. This round, the theme is triangles. I think it's mostly film. You can read the full information about the contest and how to enter, what you're supposed to do.
It's film.
And it is film, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So you can read all about it. If you're interested to join, go check it out. And the reason why he's asking us this question, he's asking any potential winners, because Eva and I are going to be the judges to decide who's going to win. So we're honored that they are entrusting us with that mission.
Mm-hmm.
But
responsibility.
I can't answer the question.
No
No spoilers.
that would be bad.
Yeah. So I can't answer your question, Tim, but what I can do is remind everybody is to go and share your photos there.
Yeah.
And maybe you will win.
There are some photos have been uploaded, so that's good that we
Yeah.
still have some contestants going. But I hope to see many more, and it's till the end of August, right? So still some time.
When does it end?
12th of August, I think,
Right.
if my memory doesn't fail me, which sometimes it does. So don't quote me on it, but I think it was sometime August.
It's a bi-monthly contest, so every time they announce a new
Mhm.
theme, you're going to have 2 months to join. Now, enough about that. Speaking of the news that I forgot to talk about last week, I mean,
Mhm.
it's not...
Christy is saying safety eyewear lesson today.
yeah, Chris, these are for, like, so I don't see the haters.
Mine has prescription, even though they look like lab glasses. I really like them, and they are actually helping me see better. So,
These are also prescription,
Yeah, I
and
know.
they help me with the lights,
and with the haters.
of course. I mean, I don't care so much about the haters. I'm the biggest hater out there.
Oh,
Who am I kidding?
Tim is here.
Hey, Tim. Yeah, speaking of that, by the way, last week, you probably read about this all over the news, but as we were crashing and burning, Tim left a message in the chat saying that...
That was the culprit.
You think so?
I
No, it
think
was
so.
definitely the charger thingy. So Tim left a message saying, breaking the news of Velvia being discontinued in the US. So for those of you who maybe didn't follow up on the thing, it's still around. The film is still around, but it's just not... it's not okay to sell in the US because of some chemicals in it that the EPA decided that is harmful. So that was the news for last week. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is SuperSense. They were sharing their last batch of peel apart film. And SuperSense, basically, they're a company that kind of put together some peel apart film. It's a little bit expensive, but it's highly experimental, I would say, because they're working with old chemicals that they purchased from whatever was left. And but I have to say, these new batch, these pictures that they're getting from the new batch are really cool. And I think what they did here, they're describing it in the post that they actually made the area smaller, because I think more people are shooting those things with the maybe smaller cameras than I think so. They adjusted the size of the positive by 12 millimeter. So that way they can save 20% on the material per photo.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at them, they look really cool.
They look very nice.
Yeah, much better than what I've seen before, I have to say. So if you're into that, maybe if you've been keeping up a little bit with the SuperSense, but maybe you didn't have so much high hopes before, maybe now you change your mind and give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Bronzo, no, we're not sponsored either by any of the brands that we drink. We just like to drink them. Eva is super excited about the one that she's drinking because we usually don't get this one in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
So today I went to this market and I stumbled upon it. And I know she wanted a Coca-Cola lemon one, but then when she drank it, she was like, a couple of weeks ago, she was like, oh no, this is not the one that I like. It was the Pepsi.
Yeah.
So I saw it today and I thought she would like it. In the chat, Chuchi, I think that's how you say it, mentioned you don't like HP5. What about Ilford Delta Line? And Tim, who knows me well, says, oh no, don't start. I'm not going to start. All right?
Don't follow
I'm
up.
going to drop it.
But the Delta has some nice film, so.
I'm not going to talk to you about that. Okay? We're going to stay friends.
All right.
Right? Not going to get into that argument.
I mean, there is a lot of options, so.
I mean, look,
for all tastes.
I really like Ilford as a company, and FP4 is one of my favorite films.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I'm going to say.
FP4 is nice. Very
Right.
nice. And I like XP2 for the sense that you don't need to develop it black and white if there's no capability, so you only
Yeah.
are developing color, so.
I mean, that's one of the things that I love about a company like Ilford is that they have all these different things. Their
Mhm.
chemicals are really nice. XP2 is a really cool film to have around. It's slightly more expensive, but for what it is,
It works really well.
I think what you spend, like if you live in a place where you don't have access to reasonable price development on black and white film,
Mhm.
because that is an issue apparently in a lot of places, if you don't do your own development, if labs will charge you more to develop black and white because it's not so common anymore. So whatever you save or whatever you pay extra on the XP2, you're probably saving more in the development department.
Il for Kentmere Pan 400 for president. Actually, I have not tried any of the Kentmere ones.
No?
No, I would like to try. But the one that we tried that was kind of like new for us, it's the 4x5 we got, the Berger Pancro 400.
Yeah.
And it's very nice as well. And speaking of that, maybe you can tell one thing that you did this week that it's been quite mind-blowing.
Oh, the scan.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to look at this? Let's look at this.
This is important. I think this is essential information for anybody out there.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who are coming to look at the photographer of the day.
But come on, they can listen to us for a little while.
All right.
No, guys. If you want us to just move on, just let us know.
All right. So we usually scan film using the DSLR method, even though we're not actually using a DSLR. We're using a Micro Four Third. What is it called?
Micro Four Thirds.
A Micro Four Thirds camera.
Like
mirrorless. That's
mirrorless,
the word.
yeah.
I can't focus on doing
the system should be called camera digitalization or something like that, not DSLR method, because a lot of people are not using DSLRs anymore.
Okay, I think. Maybe I have it here. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I don't have the full scan. It's inside my Lightroom, but I think this should be all right. All right. So the photo that we're looking at, you've seen it in a previous episode.
Yes.
It's a portrait that Eva took of our friend Lucia, and it's a 4x5 image, black and white, Berger Pancro
400.
Pancro 400. Really beautiful image. But what I did was basically. We usually scan it. I turned it off on purpose. Okay, so this was scanned using the Micro Four Thirds camera. This one has a 24 megapixel sensor, I guess.
Native 24 megapixel sensor, yeah.
Yeah, and then it has sensor shift. So the sensor will move horizontally, or whatever you want to call it, laterally, and then it will take multiple pictures and make a composite of all these pictures
on camera.
Inside the camera. It will give you one raw file, basically, stitched already. And that file will be 80 megapixels.
Which is a lot.
Which is really cool. And it works really well if you're working with 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
But then and this photo was scanned that way. You can see for a 4x5, I don't know how well you're seeing on the stream. But when I scanned it that way, I felt like there's something missing. I know it has more detail because when Eva took the photo, I double checked the focus, and I remembered that I had a lot more detail in there. So I was like, all right, let's try to do a stitch. So what we got is the following.
So explain what we did with it. So remember, our camera, when you take one photo and you use the sensor shift, it gives you one photo of 80 megabytes. So what we did in this case was to take 6 photos of this sheet of 4x5, each photo in its own being 80 megapixels.
So we ended up with a file that is 260 megapixel. That's what happened. And I don't know how well you can see on the stream. The stream, you're not getting the full quality on the stream because of the latency and whatnot.
But Tim is saying so much better, so they can see the difference.
Yeah, so I can explain to you what I'm seeing. You probably notice there's a lot more detail, but I can see the lines in the iris. I can see, how the iris has lines in it. These are visible to me on here locally. So that was really cool. And the method which we used was fairly simple. We're using our latest rig to scan, which is the Sunray Box. Love that product. And what we did, we got like a tablecloth, basically a small one, the one you put under your plate.
Like a placemat, yeah.
Plate mat.
Placemat, yeah.
And then we put it under the scanning rig, because the scanning rig has legs, like rubber
legs,
so it doesn't move, so it stays in place. put it on top of that slippery thing, and moved it around. Took 6 pictures, and there you go. So that was that.
Mm-hmm. And pretty. I mean, I think even if you are not super hyper careful of being very straight horizontally and vertically when moving the thing, Lightroom did a very good job of stitching things. You just use the panorama stitching, and it gives you one file of a composite. It's really nice.
It helps if you're more careful.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to have some overlapping in between the shots also. Have that in mind.
So
but it was really nice. So it's like when we did then look at the picture 100%, which is what is the native size of this file, you basically can make a print of this photo that is as big as a wall here in my apartment, and you will have that detail on the eyes, which is like crazy. Even Tim is saying the iris even looks smaller because the edges aren't all blurry.
Exactly.
So
that was super cool. And anything else you wanted to talk about before we jump in?
No, I think that was it for now.
Did you want to, you had something, we kind of disagreed on something before we start.
What was it?
Because I'm getting lost. I don't know if we talked about, I think we talked about this before. And Eva thinks that we haven't. What is the APS film?
APS, because we got a couple of, and we just got film for it recently. That's why I thought about it. Yeah. That we finally got some APS film.
But we haven't shot it yet.
We haven't shot it yet. It's just that in my head, I was like thinking, what's the difference between APS and 35? And also why APS is not really popular or not talked anywhere when we talk about analog, because it really kind of was born and died with a few years. Yeah. Even though it was all this promise that would make film so much easier for everybody.
It's the laser disc of film.
Exactly, or like the mini disc or something like that. If it happens in many times when technology is coming up, and in this case, it just kind of coincides in time with the beginning of digital photography, and then.
So here's the thing: we'll shoot it and develop it, and then we'll talk about it. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because the only thing that I'm waiting for right now is to 3D print a spool to develop it. Mm-hmm. So that's coming. Mm-hmm. But for now, let's talk about. How are we going to talk about Alfred Stieglitz?
Stieglitz.
I'm going to butcher the name so many times.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. We're going to talk about Alfred Stieglitz. We're going to look through his work and basically understand why he keeps coming up and up and up when you look at other photographers, when you see the work of other photographers as being influential, as being really important in the journey of photography as an art form. And it's because he was one of the first person that really had in his mind that photography can also be an art form, at the beginning of photography being something, and he worked his whole life to get there, to make it an art form, and to be considered an art form all around the world as well. We're seeing here a photo. Can I move this?
You can't see the same screen?
I cannot see you.
Oh, sorry.
It feels weird. We're seeing here a photo of him with what I guess is one of his first cameras. So he got his first camera was actually an 8x10 mm-hmm. of all things, not a small thing.
Hold on a second. I just noticed something.
What did you notice?
Is he holding a gun?
Yes.
Is that a gun?
What?
Do you see that? That is a gun, right?
It is. What?
It's so cool.
I didn't realize that before.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's like a funny pose because like he's obviously posing for the photo. It's so funny that he's standing there with a big gun in his hand. I have to say, before we move on and we completely skip this, because I think this is important. I think this man being like, in history, mm-hmm. like we all are talking about him now 100 years later, I think there's something to do with the fact that he's another Alfred with an epic mustache. So I just didn't want to gloss over this. I wanted to mention this is an epic mustache.
Yeah, we are not going to show many photos of him, but if you go and look online about him, like he has the most almighty mustache I have ever seen in anybody, all throughout his life, from young to old, like very, very well put.
Some people say he was born with it. I'm just kidding. Because you just said all his life. I was
You
like,
almost got me. No. I gotta protect your camera gear.
there goes that's why the gun.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one of his first ones. So he was born in the U.S., but from German family. When he was young, the family decided to relocate to Germany again, and in Germany is when he studied engineering or something. But he was always like more into the arts, and very early on he realized that what he wanted to do was to focus on art and photography.
So he came from a rich family, right?
Yes,
And
that's what I assume because of the amount of money he had
yeah,
available.
so I remember because this time I actually have an idea what I'm talking about, just a little bit. So I accidentally got into the preparation of the episode. So he came from a rich family, and his father basically funded his travels to Germany to study engineering.
Yeah, he was in Berlin.
And then he was sending him this huge allowance.
Yeah, I read like equivalent to it
$30,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so but he just dropped engineering and fell in love with photography. And
he said that photography fascinated me first as a toy, then as a passion, and after as an obsession. So it was something that he never left him.
Yeah.
So the 8x10 was plate film camera, was his first camera, and then he studied photographers. He got a lot of photography books while he was in Germany, but then he had to go back to the US because his sister died and the family kind of wanted him back. And then when he went back to the US, he realized that the kind of photographs he wanted to take, the 8x10 was kind of limiting him because, it's a big camera, you have to have a tripod. So he got a 4x5 camera. I guess it's the Graflex one because it's something that you can kind of like walk around with.
There is a photo of him using it, and he also mentioned it. Yeah,
so he got that one. It's actually a Folmer and Switch 4x5 plate camera. That's the first one he got. And then he started photographing everything that was around him, which, so, okay, if we put this a little bit on time perspective, because here in the podcast we don't have a chronology, like we're talking here and there. This is the late 1800s, beginning the turn of the century. And if you remember, we talked before about photographers like Imogen Cunningham and some others that were part of the group F64, which was a group of photographers that kind of arose as an opposed to the people that thought that pictorialism was giving photography art, right? But before this happened, before the pictorialists came to make art with photography, they were the painters and what they were called the artists, right? And when photography became a thing, photography was just used as a utility, just like a documentary or recording this, recording that, people doing portraits of other people, kind of like this kind of utilitarianism of photography. And the painters and the people on those art forms were called the artists and were the people that were creating art. By the turn of the century, then people like Alfred were thinking, no, photography doesn't just have to be a utility. It doesn't have to, just because there is a camera and there is this tool that we're using doesn't mean that what we can create is not art. But at the beginning of this thinking of photography as an art form, it was very, very based on the view that what looks like a painting is what's art. So that's why pictorialism is also called pictorialism. So even though they are photographs, they're really evoking this ethereal, this like dream world, this not reality look like images that remind us of paintings. So these were the first people that were like really pushing forward for, okay, photography can also give us this feeling of art, and it can also be art, right? So what we're seeing here in his first photographs are things that we can really recognize as paintings in some way, but using the natural elements and using things that are around them. So this is kind of what the two, so I don't know if we passed through them, but there were a couple of photos that use snow and...
We haven't yet,
but I think you show some of those. Yeah, this for example, this was while he was back in Europe doing honeymoon with his first wife. And as you can see, like back then, the plates were slow. Like have in mind that when people were posing for photographs back in those days, they have to be still very long time.
And the apertures were relatively small.
Exactly.
As well.
So that means that it's not like us today that we are on the street, we take our camera and we take a strict photo, which is, representing what's around us. It's very easy. But back in the days, it wasn't like that. You have to think about how dark the situation is, how long do you have to expose. So it's a much more difficult quest to try to really get the world surrounding you in this pictorialistic way, so to speak.
I think like anybody who scoffs at like photography being, because there was this element that you just click a button and you have a photo, and then you don't really know how it's developed, how it's printed. You don't really know all the calculations that the photographer had to make to read the light, to place everything where, to make all these decisions. And it's a different thing from photography. But when you see somebody, holding a pen or a brush and laying down paint or whatever material that they're painting with, and you try to do it yourself, you're gonna soon realize that you don't know where to place the lines, how to create the ratios and the proportions
the composition, how to play with the colors. Yeah, of course.
But there is a science to it, the same way there is a science to photography, and it's futile to say that one is easier or harder than the other, because to someone, painting could just be something intuitive, and to somebody else, photography can be something intuitive, even with all the numbers and the calculations that you have to take. For me, for example, like nowadays, I just struggle with painting, even though I knew how to paint before. It doesn't work for me anymore. And even though I understand that I need to be careful with my proportions, I can't do it anymore. I just don't feel like doing it. Well, photography to me is just, I'm really bad at math, but it's just, I know how to calculate exposure without really thinking about it. And so here's an example of somebody who's, does it mean that it's easier to do this than that? No, because when I used to paint, I didn't know how to take photos, didn't know anything about photography. I wasn't even around cameras. You know what I mean? So I think that idea of scuffing photography for not being an art, for not being a technical
like the camera does it for you, and you don't like the vision that you don't have to do anything, that it just like happens because you use this tool. That's not true. And
it's coming from, what I would say, it might be coming from a place of ignorance. And what I mean ignorance, I'm not using it in a bad way. I'm just using it that you're not aware of what it takes to make such a photograph.
I mean, it's kind of funny or like ironic, because we saw in that documentary how Alfred, he went to Paris and he went to an exhibition by Matisse, I think it was, and he was seeing these watercolors by Matisse, and he asked like, okay, how much is this painting? And they said like 1,000 francs, and he was like, oh, I guess you mean 1,000 francs, because it's just a blotches of color in a mostly white paper. And then he realized his own ignorance, right? Like it's when he realized, okay, I'm mistaken, there is value on this. And he ended up bringing all this kind of new artwork to New York to be exhibited in the gallery that he was working at, because he realized maybe what I don't know, there's also value in it, there's also art in it. And he was always in the forefront. He was always like, what is the new thing? What is the most modern thing? What is the thing that's pushing it forward? Because that's what he saw in photography from the very beginning, I guess. So it's a very good example of how other people were doing the same thing with photography. And sadly, a lot of people never really stopped doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always, we're always trying to be careful not to do that thing. Like a lot of times we look at new trends, especially somebody like us who's fascinated by the old stuff. And maybe we're too attached to this, old idea of photography. And then when we see like some of those crazy edits, on Instagram and stuff like that, it kind of like makes us think that this is not art, or this is, but at the same time, maybe this is the new world, and we're the same painters who kind of dismissed
the new art form,
the photographers when they came.
Yeah, maybe we need a humble reality check. I don't know.
I mean, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying I thought about it.
That doesn't mean you.
And that doesn't mean that it's true.
Yeah.
you just be careful, like not to be so dismissive of everything that you stumble
that's true.
upon.
That's true.
This, I just love this photo, and it kind of looks like a modern photo. It's so moody.
So one of the things that it to me become evident when I see at Alfred's photography and his influence of seeing the people working with the abstract and the avant-garde in Europe is that he really sees shapes in the landscapes in the world around him. He's able to connect these elements and then find how they really mean something else than just the elements put there in the photo throughout the shapes that they create and how they relate to each other. This photo actually is taken from
Later in his life.
Kind of later, not so late, but this one is 1915, and he passed away in 46. But I think he was actually having some health problems because he was working way too much between having the gallery, being the editor of Camera Work magazine. We can talk a little bit about that later, and everything. He was having some problems with health, and when he wasn't feeling really going out and taking photos, he was taking photos just right from the place he was working. So he did a series of photos from the windows, and I think they're just like masterful, really, really beautiful pictures. And also have in mind, we talked about this many times here. Back in the days, also how you printed the photos, how you work with the photos in the darkroom, it's really important. So what we're seeing here is not just the photo he took, it's like how he wanted the photo to look with the editing and with the process. He actually, with pictorialism, at the beginning of his work and at the beginning of really feeling like these photography methods and these ways of modifying photographs to make it look like paintings, it was important. Throughout his life, he kind of changed the vision that you have to use all these like more paint related processes to things that are just photography processes. They also have their value and they also make beautiful photographs. So throughout his life, he also changed his vision on that. Here we're seeing the neck of Georgia O'Keeffe. So Georgia O'Keeffe was a painter and it was a muse for Alfred, and then later became his wife as well, and then they spent a lot of their life together. And I put this one, I like it a lot. There's gonna be some others of her because what he thought, and actually you can read that, I cannot read because it's too small.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, because here I show one and there's gonna be some others, but he worked on creating a portrait of her throughout the years because he believed that one photo, one portrait could not really capture the essence of a person. So if you read that, I think it says something about that.
This photograph, one of more than 300 images, Stieglitz. I say the name and I keep thinking that I'm saying it wrong. Stieglitz made of O'Keeffe from between 1887 to 1986. So that's crazy. What is that? 100 years? 100 and
no.
What do you mean no?
From when to when?
From 1887 to 1986. She lived 101. Is that her date?
Yeah, that's her date. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We saw her in the documentary in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. In 1980.
Yeah.
By the way, we're gonna link it. I think
it is linked. Yeah.
It is linked. Check that out. It's a really fun documentary. It's narrated.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
It's good.
Between.
She lived long life.
So yeah, the way they wrote it kind of confused me. So this is one of 300 images Stieglitz made of O'Keeffe between 1917 and 1937. Is a part of an extraordinary composite portrait. So this is what you were talking about. Stieglitz believed that the portraiture concerned more than merely the face, and that it should be a record of a person's entire experience, a mosaic of expressive movements, emotions, and gestures that would function collectively to evoke a life, to demand the portrait that will be a complete portrait of any person. He claimed it is as futile as to demand that a motion picture would be condensed into a single still. I mean, very interesting take because, just don't... If you just think about the face and all the expressions that it could make, that idea would apply, certainly. So let alone the rest of the human being. This one is also one of the photos that they talk about in
it was very important in his view of how to make photographs and what makes a good photograph, in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were learning in the documentary. It's very nice. The documentary is nice because it gives you all the backdrop of the photos
They have also voice actors.
Yeah.
And there's an actor basically who's playing him.
Yeah.
So they take his quotes and they read them as
Make a
himself.
story. Yeah,
And
it's
the
really
guy
nice.
who's reading and read much better than I do.
So apparently he was in this. He was on a cruise to Europe, and this is in that boat, and he was there walking. He worked to the forward, and then he reached this point where you can see the rich people kind of on the upper deck there, and then is the lower kind of class people on the boat on the lower deck. And then he kind of gazed over and he saw this man with the straw hat, and then this person down there with the suspenders, and he saw something. He saw the shapes and he saw how everything kind of fell together so good. So he ran back to get his camera. He only had one plate left to do one exposure, and then he took the photo, and he said that he was so happy that nobody had really moved from what he saw to come back, get the camera, go back and take the photo. And then he was like really, really happy. And to be honest, like, I love it. This is exactly what I kind of look when I take my photos, is how this, you see, you have the chimney there, and then how the passage comes through, and then you have the other stair on the side, and how the groups of people are basically like mirrors of each other, but in different positions. And they're like different class quality people towards how they were organizing that. So there is so much to it, not only how beautiful it might look or not look, but like the meaning behind it as well. So
I agree.
He was like, yeah, this is the photo I want to take. So he kind of saw it before it becoming.
It's so
what it
cool
is,
that he got to run back, get his camera, and come back and get the photo. That's a big camera, mind you. A big, slow camera.
This photo I really love, actually.
Yeah, this one is...
It might not mean... I don't know. I just love it, how it looks.
I think it's also the like... It's somehow... It feels painterly, in a way.
Right?
Maybe it's just the fruit. Because every time I see a photo of fruits, I remember the paintings that
The
you have to...
still lives.
Yeah.
If you read, actually, there it says the picture might be read as a symbol of Eve's temptation at the Garden of Eden, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
or of harmony between nature and humankind. Yet it presents itself as immediate, sensual experience. You can almost feel yourself reaching out to the apples covered in dew and ripe for their picking. He was already 58 years old when he made these photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's very nice.
Do you want to tell us about the cloud stuff?
Yes, let me see where...
So he took a bunch of photos of clouds as well.
Yeah, so starting in 1922, he made his first nearly abstract photographs with a series of clouds called equivalents, arguing that photography could assume the same non-representational qualities as music. And what he was aiming is to taking these photos of the sun was to capture his mood. So basically, he will look at the sky, he will explore the sky above him, and he will only really trigger the shutter when what he was seeing in these clouds in the sky, he saw a mirror of how he was feeling or what he was feeling. And those are the ones. And then he went into the dark room and he edited them in a way that it kind of makes you don't know if it's day or night. It could be the moon, it could be the sun. So for being like against the sun photographs, these are really well done,
Yeah,
it's
I
really
mean, this
difficult.
one can definitely pass as the moon.
Yeah, so
I've seen moon photos that look similar to this in terms of exposure.
mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing they were all by the sun because of how slow his camera was.
Before that, we were mentioning about I guess it will come up some more photos of the hands, or did we already look at all the photos of Georgia O'Keeffe?
I don't think so.
Probably
But we will see them. We will see them when they come up. I was just flicking through these. You want to tell us about the photo magazine?
Yeah, so the way that he actually got involved with photography when he came back from Germany to the US was, back then there was not really, photography wasn't anything really much. They were the people that were taking photos of other people. They have these commercial photography businesses, but there weren't like much of people coming together and talking about photography. There were a couple of photo clubs in New York, and he really wanted to kind of bring those together to make something bigger, something that would really work for photography, to put it out there, to bring it to the people, bring it to the public. And he was able to do that, to kind of merge these two clubs together. And he was also able to create a magazine, Camera Notes. So the magazine of this Camera Club of New York, Camera Notes, he decided not to be the director or the president of that camera club, to not have so much work. He was the vice president, and to put more time on creating this magazine that very soon after starting became the finest photography magazine in the world. It was basically not only publishing really good work, but it was very carefully done to be presented in a really good way, to the prints being put together and placed in paper mats by hand, so it was like, and I think there's a PDF that we will look at, that this one, that we can actually see one of the camera work covers, and like this, for example, and how he put very, very careful craftsmanship into creating these magazines, and they became very popular all around the world with like in a little time before.
Who's this photo by? I know this photo.
I am not sure. I don't know if it says there.
It doesn't.
No.
I swear I know this photo.
I mean,
anybody recognize this photo in the chat? Seeing if it says.
No, it doesn't say. Photographic journal. No, it just says that it's.
Haven't we talked about this? The photographer who took this in the previous.
No, we have not had it in the podcast. It does look familiar, but I'm not sure if it's something similar or might be the same one we've seen.
Yeah. Anyways, so you were telling us about the magazine.
That it just became very popular, and he spent a lot of time trying to make it work and bringing people together. And together with this camera work magazine, he also was able to set up a gallery in Fifth Avenue where he was given almost full control to what he wanted to exhibit there, and it was a very important place in bringing up new avant-garde and very, very modern art that was happening around the world, especially in Europe. So he had some friends in Europe that were going out and scout these like new artists that are doing new things and bringing them to the US to be exhibited, with sometimes results of being kind of coined as how they were saying about the Rodin's sketches.
They were not received positively.
They were not received positively because it was like too much. This is something that the public should never see because, nudity and things that,
and it's unfinished. Remind me of the name of the...
Rodin?
Rodin. So he was a sculptor.
A sculpturist, yeah.
But he also painted. And the paintings were really cool. Again, now we're looking at them through the lens of time that were on the other side.
I mean, they were sketches, basically.
They were sketches, but they were... I mean... Yeah, but they were still cool sketches. I mean, like, there's a lot. Sketch art is a category of art now.
That's a kind of stage.
And I think that was where it started, or at least that was the first publication. If that was the reaction, maybe there's a prior publication that we're not aware of. But from what we were looking into today, into this, watching the documentary, it seems like that was the first. And that's why they said the public should never see this, because they said it belongs in the studio.
Yeah.
So this is your sketches. You're not. This is not basically fine art, or this is not finished art. This is whatever you're working with until you come up with the finished product. But this is not it. And I think the artist in that argument basically disagreed, because they published the sketches, and they thought they were worth sharing. And honestly, I don't disagree.
No, I don't disagree either. There's been a lot of exhibitions that I have enjoyed a lot by painters, for example, where the work sketches, so what they work on before a paint becomes like the paint that is supposed to be, they are really interesting to look at also. Not only because they are nice looking, because it also shows you the process of how the artist that creates this painting or this sculpture sees the object changing and becoming what it's going to be in the end. So it's really cool work. I mean, of course, and if you look at Dali or whatever, their sketches are worth almost as much as, final pieces as well, because they are so prolific and they work so much on it.
And if you're looking at this photo and you're wondering, what is this photo doing here? Well, let me tell you, this was taken in 1907, and it's an autochrome. He was did you mention the group of photographers basically that worked on that were close together?
No, I did not mention.
I think Kuhn was one of the 4 photographers that kind of were in this whole pictorialism movement, and they worked on the magazine together as well. And this one is not by Kuhn, this is by Stieglitz, but Kuhn basically was obsessed with autochromes. And this is a really cool process. I really love this process, and we talked about it before on the podcast. And I think we're gonna talk about it more in the future.
Yeah, it's just beautiful how, I mean, the colors are so nice, and I assume this because so much time has passed. It probably has been a bit washed out, I would say. I don't know how sensitive the final pieces of autochrome photos are, if they really last really long time with the same vibrancy of the colors. So we cannot know, but it just looks so nice and so pleasant. Like the colors are so pleasant.
Yes, we got a suggestion from Chuchi. We'll look into it. Oscar Barnak. We haven't done an episode.
No.
Yeah, maybe I take a note.
All right, great, thank you.
Right, so
yeah, the colors are just like,
the colors are beautiful with autochromes.
Christy saying the reds were stunning.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to think of the process of making these, I'm still waiting for somebody who mentioned that they're working on it, but they're having some issues with it. So maybe if they succeed, we will talk to them about it. Somebody's trying to recreate this process.
That would be so cool. It's just so nice.
Right? The colors are so beautiful. And yeah, well, if I think we should mention quickly what it is.
Yeah, sure.
It's basically you have your film with a photosensitive material, and then it's coated with starch that is dyed with 3 different colors. So RGB. So you make like 3 batches. You dye some red, some green, and some blue, and then you mix them together, and then you basically coat them on the back of the dry plate. And when you take the photo, the light will go through the starch color and then go on the sensitive material. So it's basically like trichrome photography, which you use separate filters to use a black and white layer to create like 3 black and white layers to create a color image. This one is just 1 layer with all the colors baked into it.
Yeah,
so
the different dyes.
It's different from current color negative film, because color negative film has 3 layers in succession.
Yeah.
So I think it's what is it? Magenta, and then yellow and
blue
and cyan. No, wait. Red is in the back. Well,
red is in the back.
It depends how you're thinking about it.
Green.
So red, green, and blue.
Yeah.
I think that's how it is. So I know the red one is all the way in the back. That's why if you shoot it backwards, it becomes red scale. But yeah, this one, instead of having them over each other, they're all baked into 1 layer. And I don't know. Still, I don't understand how you can generate such amazing colors
it's so cool.
with this technique. Like, I don't know. It's so beautiful. What are we looking at here? Another autochrome.
Yeah, that's so nice.
So the photo succession was did you mention that this is the group of photographers
that
I was talking about?
The photo. So when he was in this photo clubs that we were mentioning, there was a group of people that, like him, thought that photography should be kind of the next revolutionary art form, a little bit like the avant-garde idea of art back in the West, in the East, in Europe, compared to the US. So he kind of self-proclaimed this group of people working together, advocating for photography and pictorialism as an art form in photography, called the Photo Session, a pictorialist group of photographers that elevated the discourse and practice of photography, forming key connections between American and European movements. So that was a very important moment for photography in the US, and I think for the whole world, even though Europe was kind of a little bit more accepting of things changing and using photography as in a pictorial way and also as an art form. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I think these are like the autochrome. There's some other pictorialist artists that were working with it, as you were mentioning, Con as well. Are you looking for something in particular?
I'm trying to find the name of the guy in the photo.
I'm not sure if it says there.
Because
No.
I think he's one of the four.
He could be.
He's not Kuhn,
No.
and he's not Stieglitz, and he's not the I forgot the name of the other photographer who went to Europe, and he was basically recruiting more artists for the...
I don't remember the names. I'm
Yeah.
bad at remember also many different names.
I thought you wrote it down somewhere.
I didn't actually.
That's all right. Again, back to the architectural stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of cool architectural stuff. This one is one of my favorites.
This one is really beautiful. Oh,
It's
look at
really
those
cool.
lines.
I hardly ever like any of these photos. I don't really like those photos from like, but this one seems to work. Something about the contrast, about the angle of the light, about that smoke, it's nasty
And the
smoke
snow.
that is coming out. Is it snow?
There's snow, like all the white parts. To me, it looks like it's snow, or it might
Actually,
be
that's
sun.
true. Could be snow,
I
but
don't know.
I don't know. It feels like, I mean, it could be a sunny, snowy day.
Yeah.
Could be that it snowed earlier and now the sun came
Mhm.
out. But I think, yeah, like just the angle of the light and the contrast between light and shadow
Mm.
is just so beautiful. We actually, I passed over the pictures you were asking about. Do you want me to go back to them, to the hand series?
No, I mean, it's just I wanted to.
I didn't show them. I hopped
Okay.
over
Then
them.
we should look at them. Just I really find them amazing. The ones of the hands. I think it might be.
There.
Yeah, like so these are part of this long, like years long portrait composite of Georgia O'Keeffe that he
Mhm.
did. So they will sit and do sessions of photographs on her, and he would see her doing something. I would say like, okay, this I want to capture this, kind of like, because they were living together and spending a lot of time together. So he spent from 17 to 25 several hundred photos of her, and he was very adamant that he didn't want to encapsulate a personality such as Georgia's in just one photo. That was impossible. And he the idea that you couldn't photograph someone with just one photo, it's also something that the modernist artists were thinking, not only with people but with life, because life around was changing really fast back then, with the Industrial Revolution and the new ways of living coming up, and people changing the way they were handling every day, the big cities coming up like New York. He was essential in kind of representing the change of New York, and the New York becoming what we know today also as well. So
this is not from the same series, but I thought it fits.
it also fits as well, because I really find so beautiful that he takes the time of seeing what are the things that make someone who they are. And I guess for Georgia, she was a painter. Her hands are something very important. She creates with her hands all the things that she makes in. And these are separated, but I just thought that they're like very nice details, photographs that I really like.
I mean, I wouldn't. It's so cool in the sense that I wouldn't expect this photo from that time.
Yeah,
you know what
right?
I mean? And it just really shows you that, like, everything we're talking about, everything he claimed to be, everything he was about, it shows in his work.
Yeah.
And this one is
That's
a
really
cool one. This is basically an autochrome plate that got shattered, and they tried to put it back together. And it's so cool. You can see, like, in some parts that the actual coating has peeled a little bit.
Yeah.
But Yeah, basically like, and oh, look at this. So here,
Yeah.
only the starch layer fell off,
Mm-hmm.
but the black and white emulsion stayed on.
Yep.
That's why this is still in black and white. As I said, this is a black and white sensitive layer, so like just normal dry plates. By the way, there's a guy on YouTube called Lost Light Art. He makes light plates. He teaches you how to make your own if you're interested. Really cool channel, all about dry plates. Go check it out if you're into this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you can figure out how to do autochromes on your own. So basically, you put a light sensitive emulsion that is just silver, and that's a basic black and white
Photograph. Yeah.
photograph. And then you add that starch layer to it. And the way to see autochromes, you might wondering, well, how do I see it? It's just like a slide film.
You like.
You need a light, so you put it by the window, and when it's light, you see
That's
it.
so cool.
You see the photo. So these are like slide film or positive scans, basically. They have to light them from.
It's so
back.
cool.
It is so cool. It's so cool that here you can see how the layer peeled off.
And also like about the reds, like you can see all the samples we've seen. Like they look these red elements to put them into the photos. I'm not sure if that was actually done on purpose. I would say it is.
What
Because
do you
if you know that you have a photograph that it kind of enhances reds and makes red so beautiful, I would look for ways to put red on my photos.
Yeah.
You know, like all the photos we see here, you have the plants and you have the apples that look so cool. In the other one with the man, the tablecloth was red. Like, you know, like it really makes it.
Yeah, I mean, the reds and blues usually like are what people try to capture with Ektachrome. Like every time somebody loads up an Ektachrome, they start looking for red and blue lights because that film will enhance it. Oh, you want me to hit the cups? Here we go. Here's red and blue overload. So anyways, sorry about that. Stop it. Oh, now we're stuck. I accidentally turned off the remote. Why does this remote has an on and off button on? Eva was so shocked. I've seen a review of the Sokani light before, and I know that the remote has has an on and off button for the remote. And Eva was like just testing the light yesterday, and she turns it off, and she's like, "It's not working." She's like, "What is not working?" It's like the on-off button is not working. I'm like, "No, that's the on-off button for the remote." She's like, "What?" Yeah, that's how it is.
That's yeah. That makes no sense to me at all. But. So I mean, I think exploring the work that Alfred did, it's a part that you might like or not like the photos. Putting it into context, putting it into place, and knowing how key it was for what photography is today and what photography has been for the past 100 years. It's really cool. And he did take some photos that to me they look completely modern. Like you could see them on Instagram today.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I noticed. There's a lot of photos that I have to remind myself that this was taken early 1900s or even 1800s.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. And you know, the other thing that is crazy is that like how New York looked so early. Like you don't think about it so much. I mean, I don't. We were talking about this before when we were looking at these photos. We're like, look how cool this place how cool these buildings look.
Because to me, like, I think the cognitive dissonance to me is that we're seeing these photos of this very, very early footage of New York City with people on carriages and people, you know, with horses around. Everything full of filth, but you're still seeing the buildings that you see today when you go to New York City and when you walk throughout the places with the cabs and the yellow cabs. No, you are seeing people there with the carriages, and the city, more or less, it doesn't look that different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like so weird to see. You know, the Flatiron building is a very old building in New York. He shot a lot with it, and you see like this photo. You could change this carriage, the one that you showed before, for a yellow cab.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be what you're seeing today.
Well, there's a bunch of carriages as well in the back.
So it's really cool to...
It is. I mean, look at this one. This one is just gorgeous. The contrast between the tree and... I tried to do something like this and I failed miserably when I shot the... what's it called?
Washi?
The washi film. I mean, it wasn't even near as good as...
That's the Flatiron. Yeah.
I was trying to make a contrast between the tree and
It's
the,
just crazy that they made those. I mean, I mean, it's not crazy if you think about the pyramids, whatever. But that that 100 years ago, the building has not changed.
right? I mean, they're good buildings.
Yeah, I guess so.
These are really, really
Maybe
cool.
100 years is not that much in the scheme of things. I don't know.
Yeah, but we're
This one is so
we're
nice.
looking at it from a different lens, like you mentioned that it's like you made it like you laughed, you cracked a joke about the fact that both you and I come from ancient towns
Yeah.
that have buildings from thousands of years, and we're like being in awe at, oh, look at that, these old, how cool old buildings are, just like 100-year-old or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's because they come from different eras, from different booms of civilizations.
Yeah.
Like the buildings that we grew up in came from the boom that was occurring in those areas. Like, I mean, Sweden, for example, doesn't have so much of that.
Because all the Viking things were completely out.
Yeah, so Vikings were more out. They were more, like in the seas and stuff like that. But like when you go to Spain, when you go to Syria, for example, there's a lot of people who settled there a long time ago, and they have these super fancy castles and buildings and old stuff. I mean, the old cities are still, you still walk the cobblestone streets that were very old.
When you go to Rome, it's similar. Like you went to the Pantheon, and the Pantheon is like, I don't know, 2,000 something years old, and it's just the same, like.
But that's the thing, is that really nothing crazy happened since, at least I can say in my country. Like there was no insane building. There was no we were just going along. But then here you see the evidence of the industrial evolution in these photos, which I think is super cool. Is that, as you mentioned, people are still walking around with going around with horse carriage, but there are skyscrapers around them, which
I guess
doesn't doesn't compute.
Right.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
A bunch of
autochromes.
Autochromes.
In this page, actually, they show you like micrographs of the photos sometimes, so you can see the surface and you can see how it was mounted, how it was supposed to be. Yeah. So
you see the color noise.
Yeah.
This is like 2 millimeters, so the whole thing would be like 1 centimeter. This whole square, and look at all that color noise. I think
those are the starch.
That's definitely the starch. They look like pixels.
Yeah.
Look, you can see them all red, green, and blue. Red, green, and blue. But they're more. So what's going on is that some of them are brighter than others, and that's how you get the color. But I think the fact that the plates are so big is also what kind of gives it that smooth, beautiful color. I mean, look at this. This looks like it's been shot on portrait before color correction. This is what portrait looks like before you color correct.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, indeed. Those are so beautiful. I really like them. They're like, I don't know.
Frank Eugene.
Frank Eugene?
Who is Frank Eugene?
I got no idea. Maybe it was a family friend.
Inventor.
Oscar Barank?
Oh, I thought I copied this. I copied that one earlier, so we can look at him later. American-born photographer was he was a founding member of I told you he was one of the four guys.
The four guys.
Because there's a photo of all of them, and I remember his mustache as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naked ladies.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. That one was good though.
A
lot of that I think that was the same tablecloth, the red tablecloth from the other photo.
What was his name? Henrich, I think, was his name.
Something like that.
Henrich Kuhn. Is that how you write? Henrik Kuhn. And what's our friend today? Alfred
Stieglitz.
I'm not going to try to write his last name. I know there's a photo of the four of them.
Yeah, there is.
This one. There's an autochrome as well.
Is that a photo or a painting?
This is something, they done something to the autochrome. This is an actual color image, I think.
What?
Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe there's more versions of it. But I've seen this, I think I've seen this photo in color. Anyways, those are the dudes who created the first...
autochromes photos?
No, they created the first photography magazine. Hold on a second. I mean, I know that we talked about the zine, the first zine, but this is the first magazine.
Yeah, this is the magazine, like a publication, you know, like
Yeah.
the other one was kind of the first photo book.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, a zine.
Yeah, a zine.
Right. So how we doing in the chat? Everybody's happy.
Yeah,
Everybody
I think
enjoying
they're
the
a
show?
little bit quiet, but I guess they're enjoying.
I think this is that we've been doing good today. 1 hour,
Right?
7 minutes.
Nice.
I told you we're not gonna crash.
Nice.
So apparently everybody was, hating on Mac last week after what happened. I was talking to some friends and they were all, telling me that I should get a PC. Apparently I should just, plug my charger in.
How is the battery doing now?
It's 100%.
All right, good.
Yeah. it's so stupid.
Sometimes the easiest answers, the easiest solution is what makes it work.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Chronic
Oh.
Fish, by the way, yeah, I think you're right about Paul Strand being the video from Ted Forbes. I think I've seen photograph in one of Ted Forbes' video when he was talking about rhythm.
You guys know so many names.
Ted Forbes is the art of photography.
Okay.
And he has a really cool series about composition. I
Yes,
keep mentioning
I
it.
actually have it open in my computer. Like that tab is my oldest tab in the
Really?
browser.
When was the last time you cleared your tabs?
I don't know. Don't ask weird questions.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the, or is it something, or is the art of photography? I think that might be my oldest tab.
The
or
art of
something.
photography?
The visual design of a photograph.
Yeah, so I think I've seen that photo in the episode about rhythm, because I mean it definitely fits the rule. Where is it? Let me go back to it.
Yeah, Chuchi's saying that it's so surreal how his photos look so modern.
Yeah.
Alfred's, definitely. That tells you either one or two things. Either that there's nothing new to invent, so don't try too hard because everything that you do has been already done before. Or it also tells you that whatever you think now, that it might not be much, that there might be people that tell you not what you're doing is not art, what you are doing is not good. Just don't listen, just do your own thing.
Even
do
if
what
we
you think.
Are telling
Exactly.
you that don't listen to us,
No.
because then we'll be hypocrites.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
anybody can be a hypocrite without realizing it. So, even if we come here and tell you, I mean, Stieglitz, everybody told him
Yeah.
that this was not art. And I mean, it's been a recurring theme in a lot of our episodes where we talk about these photographers that are so famous and, they did amazing work. They were challenged when they were doing their work. Last week's episode is one of my favorite episodes, one of my favorite photographers that I didn't know about and that we talked about. The photos are amazing. Her photos were amazing, but also her story, like the fact that she was a woman working in that time, being so badass, taking photos from plane and on skyscrapers, and
Into
like
furnaces,
went into Russia during the
know.
war, and it's crazy photos that we looked at last week. And if she listened to everybody that told her, I mean, she lost her marriage. Basically, she was in love with the man that in her life, but she lost her marriage because she couldn't fit the stereotypical role of a woman.
Yeah.
And she did what she did, and she made history, basically. So, yeah, and today we're talking about Stieglitz, who's basically the father of modern photography.
Who also had some relationship problems because of his art.
Yeah, it's funny. Definitely go watch the documentary
Yeah.
that we linked in the description. It's a bit long, but it's really enjoyable to watch.
Definitely.
The narration is really cool.
Yeah, it's just, you have to be surrounded by people that want you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's important.
And if you're not, well,
But you're
maybe
better alone.
change them.
Exactly.
Get a new set of people.
Yeah, right. I think that's what he did with Ukipi as well. Because I
Yeah.
think they were both very similarly thinking about art and about what's important, what the effort should be put on. And, she was also a very forward thinker.
I mean, his first marriage didn't make sense at all. It's like every Disney movie where like there's a princess who should marry a prince. He was the princess in that scenario, basically, and he was supposed to marry this because his family is from money, and they married a bureaucrat as well. She was an heir to some rich family,
Yeah.
and then he wanted to go
Take
and
photos,
take
around.
photos in the wilderness and stuff like that, and she's just coming along and hating her life. Basically, it sucked for both of them. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. I wanted to mention something. Oh, we're talking about Velvia 100. By the way, it's so funny because I don't know if Tim is still here, but I was talking to Tim a couple of weeks ago, and we were trying to guess what's the next film that is going to go away. And Film was saying Provia was going to go away. First, I disagreed. I said Velvia is going to go away. I'm not saying this to say that I knew or I guessed. I mean, Velvia is still around.
Yeah,
we were talking about which film Fuji is going to discontinue, not which film is going to be outlawed in some country. But, I mean, the US is now whatever in terms of film sales for sure, but, it's not discontinued. So nobody, really won that argument. But what I wanted to say is, it's not about winning the argument. It's about getting Provia instead, because Provia is a really good film.
It is a very nice film.
I mean, Velvia, I think people who shoot Velvia prefer Velvia 50. That's what I don't shoot Velvia at all. But I think from what I know that Velvia 50 is the one to go. And I think that one has been even impossible to get from before in the US.
Velvia 50?
In the US.
I'm not sure.
I mean, you can get it from Japan if you know how to order.
So what I'm reading here is that Velvia 100 contains phenol isopropylated phosphate, and it's part of the layers, and that one the EPA has now considered a carcinogen.
Yeah, but it's not in Velvia 50.
So here it says, at this time around, it's not because it says it's very well known industry knowledge that everyone reaches for Velvia 50 instead. No, I mean, it's only Velvia 100 that is being discontinued.
Yeah, but because that's what I don't know why I have this idea in my head that most people shoot Velvia 50 rather than Velvia 100.
Yeah.
And people who love Velvia, I think they love Velvia 50. I could be wrong, but it's in my head from somewhere. Maybe I dreamt it.
I mean, this Velvia 100 photo is very nice.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Provia is the way to go.
Provia is nice. We should shoot some 4x5 slides.
We should develop the slide that we shot.
Let's shoot more so we can develop more.
Right. Yeah, we'll go and shoot. Yeah, so Provia, I from what I've seen, I like it more. For what I like to do, again, Velvia has oversaturated colors, which I don't personally. If I shoot Velvia, I have to edit it. So I mean, what's the point of shooting slide if you're gonna?
Ooh, I'm just thinking how good it's gonna look like a full 4x5 slide film.
Right.
Scan at 260 megapixels.
What I was thinking of, how cool it would look if we mounted in a way like autochromes, so they can be displayed all the time when there's light.
Yeah, I mean, in the windows or something like that, you could.
I have an idea. If you get CM knows what's up. CM says I like Provia better. I 100% agree. I was thinking that if you get an LED strip,
yeah,
and then you make a frame, but it's a thicker frame, and you put an LED strip on the inside facing inward,
yeah,
and then maybe the backing would be like you know how they make the reflectors for the light? It's basically a piece of aluminum that is kind of tapped with a hammer, so it has a lot of surfaces where the light can bounce. So maybe these can be like cool frames that you can mount and like LED
slides,
strips are not gonna take a lot of power.
Space,
you can power it with batteries.
Yeah,
and it will be like like these digital photo frames, but cooler.
Really nice.
Yeah, if you know how to make that, make it.
Send us one.
And maybe share with us what you make, and then we'll share it with the world.
Yes.
Anyways, I think that's it for today. Anything you would like to add?
No much, apart that I'm very looking forward to shoot a lot these coming weeks and months, because now it's like good weather. I don't have a lot of work, and I really want to take photos, and I want to finish the roll on the Pen F. For God's sakes, these 72 shots are so many.
I told you're never gonna finish that roll, especially the way you shoot. You take, especially the way we've been shooting nowadays. We haven't been purposefully going out to shoot as much. It's way too hot. I never thought. If it's not too hot,
it's too cold.
Yeah, there's no middle ground.
Yeah. So if it's not too hot, it's raining, which is like what?
What is an LED diffuser? And you'll get an even amount of light. I was thinking the minimum amount of light possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll probably need to have a diffuser. I mean, I think if you put a
Like one of these thick white.
if you put a hold on, if you put a what's it called, a Fresnel, a
Yeah,
Fresnel.
Fresnel, yeah, will make the light be completely parallel
So like,
rays.
if you sandwich your 4x5 on a Fresnel, on a Fresnel, and then behind it there's some LEDs shooting inward, then the Fresnel will take whatever light and shoot it through the negative.
Very nicely and evenly.
But
Supposedly, we
good
can
luck.
work with that.
Good luck. I mean, it's gonna drive the price up. I think you can
No,
get like plastic
you can get them
Fresnels.
from the old TVs,
Yeah, but that's a gigantic.
but you cut it.
I don't think you can cut it.
No.
Because the groove has to be in a specific orientation.
Ugh.
I think. I don't know so much about Fresnels. But yeah, I'll be quiet now. CM is saying I'm stealing. I'll keep it quiet. So before make it quickly before the word gets out. He's saying I'm stealing his ideas of the showing large format reversal. I've been thinking about this for so long, and I think about so many things, and I never get to finish any of them.
Chronic Fish is asking a good backpack, cheap, so I don't have to sell a kidney. That is good for the RV67.
I use a Lowy Pro, whatever.
A low pro. We've been looking recently to the backpacks in K&F concept.
Yeah.
The price are good. The reviews have been really nice. We didn't get any yet, but I think the bigger ones would actually fit your RV and couple of lenses quite okay.
Although I found this bag, it's kind of pricey, but not for what it is. It's from Payutech. I think that's how. Hold on, let me show you what I'm talking about.
Are they Mexican?
They're Chinese.
Ah.
The
K&F ones, there's one that I really like how it looks, and I'm like, I want to get another backpack, but I have so many backpacks already. I think I don't.
What is the name of the tripod? The one that we just got?
Mantis
Pod.
Pod.
All right, I'll show you this. PGY Tech.
PGY Tech.
Okay, so PGY Tech, this is not a sponsor. I know, it's expensive.
How much?
It's expensive, it's $200.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool backpack. It fits so much, and it comes with an additional backpack, this one. So
Oh, that actually looks very nice.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I can tell you one thing. This is a Chinese company,
But
but
they're
it's super high quality. Like
so good.
I got this tripod it's called a Mantis Pod. I can actually show you here.
But I mean, like seriously, not only how well built the article is, but the presentation, the manufacturing, how it comes to you, like top notch.
This one, we put every camera we have on it, because I've seen some videos. I've seen a video by Potato Jet. He stood up on it. He put a RE digital camera on it. I was like, how true can that be? So I put the heaviest cameras we have on. We put the RZ on it. Everything with the 4x5. It held everything. And it's a really cool tripod that does all the tolerances are tight. When you tighten it, it's not going to give up on you. Super cool tripod. Right? And when I was browsing, I found this One Mo. It's a weird name, but okay.
One more.
And it's basically...
Onimo.
Onimo. Maybe that's how. All right.
It's actually very pretty too.
It's a really cool looking bag. You fit your laptop in there. It comes with this additional bag. They use it for drones.
Yeah.
I don't really use drones. And so you can put your RZ in the bottom there. In this. You can take this one out. Now you have a sling bag on your shoulder if you want to use that for other reasons. I think this one might even fit your RZ.
Yeah, I think for the size that I'm seeing.
I mean, you can probably see the dimensions of this thing. I don't know.
It looks quite nice. I mean, the K&F ones are a bit cheaper. Probably. I mean, the quality, I think, is going to be good too.
I don't know. Look, we got this tripod from
yeah,
K&F.
so Chuchi was just asking, what tripod do you use for your FT to scan? And it's one we got from K&F.
We got the tripod from K&F. Let me tell you this. It works perfect. It's a really good tripod. It does a lot of things. It goes like this, sideways. It even mounts upside down, and then
even
you can...
to a monopod, 2 meters. You can have it up to meters.
It's super high, more than 2 meters. You need the ladder to reach it in its tallest position, right? And it tightens really nice. Everything tightens really nice. It doesn't have any problem staying in place. even when, so basically because the middle column has another column inside of it, and there's a ball head that can change orientation. So you pull the inside one all the way out, and then you turn the ball head, and then you can put it like that, and that's how it becomes a T, basically, a top down. So when you want to raise the center column that is still attached to the tripod, when you unscrew it, normal, it kind of leans down, right? When you tighten it, after you adjust the height, it goes back exactly level.
To the same point, yeah.
So that's perfect. I have nothing to complain about with that tripod, except one thing, how it feels. Like, it feels cheap.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't cheap, but for what it does, it's dirt cheap. Like, if you compare the Manfrotto and
that do
other
the same
brands
thing, same
that
size.
do the same stuff, and they go the same height, crazy difference in price, right? Like 10 times more expensive.
Yeah, 10 times.
But even though it's a really good deal, the way the knobs feel compared to this, like, what is that? Mi Photo. I don't even know what that brand is. That one,
yeah.
it was more expensive. It was the same price, but it doesn't do half the stuff that other tripod does. This one has better quality in the material.
Mm-hmm.
My argument is that for a tripod, it doesn't matter. What about bag? A bag, the material is gonna play a role. That's why when I saw this Pegitech backpack, I was like, okay. From the what I found in terms of material in that tiny tripod,
yeah,
I'm thinking that this is the backpack that I could buy online.
That you would be happy with.
And I know that I'm gonna get good stuff. We also got a few pouches, and they also sent us when we bought the tripod. They sent us a memory stick, like a wallet basically. Yeah. It's made of leather or faux leather. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But and it's magnetized. Everything feels top quality.
And down to the details as well. It's so good.
So if I can recommend the backpack that I'd never tried, I think I only feel comfortable recommending this Pegitech one. I don't know how much difference it is from the what's the other brands, the famous ones? Peak Performance and
Peak
stuff.
Performance, yeah.
They're probably more expensive, no?
Yeah, they're more expensive.
Yeah, the Loy Pro is not an expensive brand, is it?
Yeah, I think the backpacks are north of 300.
Really?
I think
is that how much I paid for mine? I've had mine for years, and the strap broke, and I sew it back together. I used very thick string, so now it holds everything, no problem.
I mean, the sidewise messenger bags are 1,500 kroner, so 150. The backpacks are nothing less than 200. So yeah, same price range, more or less.
All right. Same price range as what?
As the 200 one for this one. I think this one is probably bigger.
Yeah. This one is 25 liter.
All right. I don't know what that means, but
yeah, I don't know. I can't recommend backpacks. Check this one out if you like it. See the reviews. I think it's gonna be my next backpack, just because I get 2 in one. I know I'm not gonna stuff the small one inside the big one, and I really like slingshots.
Yeah.
The one that I have fits the F3, but it doesn't fit the RZ. It fits the 645 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. Anyways, yeah. Anything else? Anybody has other questions that we can look into? I do. Yeah, but that tripod, by the way, is gorgeous.
Which one?
The Pegitech.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's so nice. It's so small, and it has a side. I love this tripod. It has a side
hook.
A side cold shoe.
Ah, yeah.
So you can actually
that one. There, the man.
No. Yeah. Well. You
put it in.
You can remove the ball head. This is a ball head that you can take from here. It usually sits here, but you can put it here to have a selfie mode. Just go watch the Potato Jet video on it. I like his videos. And you can also do it like this. So that's why it's called Mantis, because it has this flap that goes out. So it's kind of like a gorilla pod. And it will hold heavy cameras. I want to see that thingy on the side. Why isn't it in any of the pictures?
I don't know.
Well, it's right here. you can see there's a cold shoe
yeah.
here. And this one, you can adjust the rotation of it freely, so it snaps into place. So if you want to have a shotgun mic, you can basically point it at yourself when you're holding it in this orientation. But then if you take the ball head off and you snap it on this one, and maybe you flip the camera around, or if you're filming yourself and then you want to film somebody else, you can just twist the shotgun back and forth. Or we use it with a light. So the video that I promise you're going to watch tomorrow, we're going to upload it now.
Yes,
I
so
made the same promise
looking
last
forward.
week, but then
no,
I
it
added
is
more
done.
stuff.
It is done. It's finished.
She's gonna kill me if I don't publish it. So I used this tripod, and I had the light. So if I was holding the camera in different orientation, I did use the light in one scene, in one shot, and it was so convenient to have the light, the small light,
right, looking at you.
just there where I wanted it. It was hooked to the camera without being actually hooked to the camera. Yeah. So. Thank you guys for watching and joining us for another week.
Yes.
We hope you had as much fun as we did. And
CM is saying he used the field raven. I just saw it now. Konken for the Intrepid and the Chamonix. That's the one I have. He uses the red one for the Chamonix and the Intrepid. How is it possible? Doesn't fit the button. What Konken do you have, CM? It's very big. I don't think it does.
Is the one that I took today to
Yeah?
the supermarket? Do they make them in bigger?
I think I have the biggest one because I have the one with the laptop thing. Yeah, it's this one. Maybe he has a bigger one, but that's the one.
It's like I'm not destined to end this episode.
It's okay. I just saw the comment. I use that camera for everything, CM. Like it's my all around.
It says
yeah,
laptop
the
17.
Mine is the 15 one.
So there is a bigger one. You
Yeah.
lied. You said you have the biggest
No, I
one.
thought there was the only one.
Okay.
Because mine it fits my laptop and it has a little bit more, so it has to be 15.
I like this backpack.
This backpack, yeah.
I really enjoyed it today.
Yeah.
It's the first I've seen it around. I think it looks really cool, but I never.
It's very comfy.
Maybe I'll get one.
There are two.
The only thing that it doesn't have separators.
No,
So
it
for an
doesn't.
8x10, for a 4x5, it works perfectly because it will fill up the whole thing.
Yeah, I like it because also you can open the whole thing like this.
Yeah.
So the one I have is a little bit more expensive one because it has pads here on the straps, but the classical one doesn't have pads on the straps. It's just like a straight
Although
kind of thing.
I don't think if this helps chronic fish, because these are expensive, aren't they?
Yeah. Well,
But actually, they're not. Well, relatively, they're more compared to camera bodies. To camera bags.
Yeah, but this one has no padding whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like it's very thin. It's just like it's very thin towards the outside. That's what I mean.
But it will fit your RZ, I think.
It will fit the RC.
The 17-inch one.
It will fit the RC.
And
for
they
sure.
look super cool. I really like the look of these backpacks.
Yeah, that's why I bought it actually. But then it's super
if you want to
useful.
convert to dollar, sorry to interrupt, just take a zero off approximately a Swedish krone. $1 is 8 Swedish crowns, so you can like say 10.
What it amazes me is that it looks small, but it can fit so much things inside.
Yeah, today
it looks and it feels small, but it's really nice. I love it. I have the red one, CM.
Yeah.
Thing holders in the laptop sleeve, yeah. Nice.
Cool. Right.
All right.
You and CM can continue on Discord if you want to keep talking about the cool backpacks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let everybody else go.
Have an eye out for the video that's coming out because it's gonna be of interest to everybody, I think.
All right.
And we hope that you guys share also.
I like that you made a promise. I can just not work on it, and you have to fulfill your promise.
I didn't say I promised anything.
Yes, you did.
I
You're
just
gonna
said
finish
it's gonna come in.
I mean,
it's finished.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.